I'm Erika, and I'm an international content manager here at City Baby, and I'm going to be popping here sometimes to talk about international music and Latin music in general, what's going on, what you should look for, and what to pay attention, and some stories to get inspired. I thought I would start with a little summary of the Latin music in the US. So in the 80s, we saw lots of crossover acts. At that point, some music would be that crossover to the US market, but mostly artists would have to record in English eventually. And then in the 90s, we saw Selena. Selena was the queen of Tejano, and she came to just break all the barriers. She was the first Latin artist to get number one singles. And after her tragic death that most of us know about, she became an inspiration to many other artists to just follow her legacy. And from that, we see names as Rick Martin, Shakira, Thalia, and in the 2000s, that's when we see a boom of Latin music, however, with fewer names. But you also saw the tendency of artists having to record in English in order to really break into the market. And then you come to 2010 and beyond. 2014, you had the Brazilian World Cup and a massive representation of Latin artists on that opening. And then you jump forward to today. And if you double check the global chart, 50 top US and global, you are going to be surprised to see that is dominated by Latin artists. Right now, if you open the top 50 Mundo, global in this case, you're going to see that the top four artists there are Latino artists. In top 50 USA, you're going to see from the top four to a Latino artist. And on that note, I want to talk about a rising star, Mexican rising star called Peso Pluma. So Peso Pluma is a young artist. He's born in 1999 in Guadalajara, Mexico. He began playing guitar really young in his teens, and he had a love for Mexican music, regional Mexican music. Fast forward to today, he became a huge influence in mixing regional Mexican music with modern vocals. If you hear his music, you're going to expect something, hear something else, but it's going to be infectious.
Here with his U.S. TV debut, performing the #1 Latin song in the country, Ella Baila Sola. Give it up for Peso Pluma!
Peso didn't start it yesterday, but I know that some of you probably have that sensation when you see a name like him appearing from nowhere. But Peso has been working for a while, and it's a good to exercise that when you see new artists, you have the tendency to, how is this just coming from nowhere? Most artists that appearing now have been long time doing this work, and he ended up going viral. In 2022, had one of his songs going viral on TikTok with a collaboration with an artist named Raul Vega. And he enjoyed that moment. From that point on, he just didn't stop. We saw Peso Pluma on Coachella. He had special participation with Becky G. And then weeks later, we saw him on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, the first regional Mexican artist to be featured in a major late night show. When you ask why is this happening, I think the logical answer is before these artists needed to be physically in these territories. They literally needed to have CDs and vinyls present in stores. Or they needed a breakthrough like the movie La Bamba, where everywhere in the world you would hear that song, but it was a catalyst of the movie. So if you want to talk about how we landed today with 4 Latino artists on the top 50 global, the rise of the Latin music in North America can be a combination of a few decades of cross-gender collaboration, more representation, and cultural influence inside of the US. While there are still folks talking about building walls, music is coming in strong to destroy all of them, and you can expect more of that, like Peso Pluma.
Thanks, Erika. I have a question for you. So when you said he's bringing his modern take to the sound, like how do you define it? Like, what's different about it from the regional influences?
I think when it comes, from my perspective, when it comes to the tone of voice, it can be even similar, but it's just the attitude that it changed. It's there's an attitude to him, and honestly, what I think is even more to be said about Peso Pluma is that we have seen culturally an attack on Mexico and Mexico culture in general. So bringing this to light and seeing those sounds, I feel that he's proudly representing not just classical Mexican music, but what's going on today. And I think that's to be said to any new artist that is coming. Don't forget about your roots. There are things that you can, revive or enjoy and work in a way that is going to maybe be transformed in something new, but not necessarily. It's just, I feel that old and new are now holding hands in order to get that music out and create a sensation that Mexico, it is a rich country, and it's not about just what we hear in the news and what is being told to us. In that can be said to any other Latin country and artists that are now trying to break into the US market.
And anytime you create anything, even if it's traditional, if there's a traditional sound behind it, your unique voice will always make it different. So even if you're paying homage to traditional, like let's say in the US, it's traditional folk music or whatever, you're still making something a little bit different because your voice will transform it into something unique.
And if you see some of his past work, there's going to be a, different, you're going to feel that you are jumping to different genres because you can see that he's evolving as he defines what he's going to become. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. If I listen to something that Sarah in the Sea created 10 years ago, and then I hear her modern take today, I think we all should embrace change and that serves for new and old generations, right? I have
totally
new generations kind of like not, I wouldn't say respect, but maybe not understanding the power of classical and everything that came before. And then we have this older generation kind of like not understanding the power of that this Gen X is bringing to the table.
I had a point that really fascinated me from what you said, from the standpoint of like music distribution and technology and how people listen to music, is like these stories of import, export, international sharing of music were so infrequent in the past because you had to literally ship like thousands of tons or pounds of vinyl and CD all around the world, and that cost a whole lot of money, and that just was not a reality for most artists. And now it's like you just have a phone, and so whether it's TikTok or Spotify or whatever, there's like the same barriers exist for everyone around the world, or the lack of barriers now. And I'll play that video from Coachella in a second, but when he's introduced, the entire crowd starts cheering like they know who he is. They're excited to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seems like that would only happen now in a smartphone age. Like he wouldn't have gotten that reception 50 years ago. People would have been like, who? So
exactly. Yeah.
I'll play that video real quick.
Hay por ahí mi hermano Peso Pluma. ¡Coachella! Una y otra vez cometimos errores que no se arreglan ya. Cuento de nunca y acabar, no vamos a aceptar. Tú por aquí, yo por allá. ¡Y ese grito de todo mi frente de Coachella!
Beautiful.
Amazing. Was that Becky G?
Yes, I believe so.
I love her.
Yeah, it's just, I just can't take the smile off on my face because I feel like there's no way back from this. And I appreciate
it's huge.
the blend. Yeah, I appreciate the blend. And just to kind of like on a note that I wanted to mention as I got in today, why did I wake up listening to Indian metal today? Why I was listening to Indian metal today? Because yesterday someone fed me this on TikTok and I thought was the greatest thing ever, right? India heavy metal. So yes, it has changed. I, a Brazilian living in US, would not be listening to Indian heavy metal if it wasn't for the social media breakthrough videos and the fact that now people are less connected to words and technicalities and more about sensations and feelings.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then one last thing you said I wanted to just reiterate for our audience is this is not an overnight success, even though he's, quote, new to most of the world. Like, you've been paying attention to him for quite a long time. And I know he had some overlap with some people from the CD Baby crew. And like,
Yes,
it's working, grinding it out. And then after all that work, he's suddenly like an overnight success. But
correct. Know when to look for a team. There's an amazing team behind Peso Pluma with folks that we had the luck to work with. And I think that's important to know too. You know, see the signs, look for a team, enjoy that opportunity, and it can happen. It happened to Peso. He was serving tables and working as a obrero, construction worker, just not long ago. And he's touring in the US the next few weeks. I'm going to be there. So don't give up.
that's awesome. Well, thanks for being a part of this. We'll hear from you in a month or so.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, you both. And I'm really looking forward to all that's new into the podcast. Christina,
Thank you, Erika.
welcome, Christina.
Thank you.